Right, in this video, what to do if you're getting a squeaking sound coming out from when you're driving. And in this case, this is my Honda Civic 2.2 CTDI. Now this is the rear of the car, and I'm getting squeaking from the rear, but I can't really tell if it's the rear right, which is this wheel, or the rear left. Now it could be a number of things. If you hear squeaking, it could be a number of obvious things, and one that I think it could be on this wheel, because this car's already done 260,000 plus miles, and that would be, I'll mention that right at the end. I hope it's not that, but I think it is that. So I'm getting squeaking, high-pitched squeaking, and the squeaking gets more and more kind of frequent, or you know, you can hear the beep 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 kind of sound. It goes faster and faster as the wheel turns. So it's something to do with the wheel. So one of the most obvious things, believe it or not, and I will take the wheel off if I have to, and I'm checking this out in a minute. One of the most obvious things is this. See that? My finger pointing. You've done some work on a wheel, and somehow you kind of pushed on this shield, this dust shield. There's the disc, there's the dust shield, and you pushed on it. Once you've kind of pushed it, and it's kind of scraping on the actual rotor that's turning. So that's one of the obvious things. The second obvious thing is that your brakes are running low. So here's my finger, there's the brake pad, loads of it. I know I only changed it a short while ago. You can even see it right there, plenty of brake pad, and it's all the way down to the squealer. Now, and the third thing it could be is the bearings. So now I don't want it to be bearings. Normally it's rumbly, like a rumbling sound rather than squeaking. So let's do what I should do, which is to jack it up and rotate each wheel individually. Right, okay, so I've jacked up the car where the suspension spring is, using a decent jack. And put the handbrake off, and I've put the gears on in gear 1, so it's not going to slip and slide. So I'll see if I can duplicate that squeak. I can hear something scraping. Sure. Just that slight, it's coming from there where the brake pads are. Now, it could be the brake pads, like I said, wearing thin. If your brake pads were really thin, you go down to the squealers and they will squeal. But because there's a lot of brake pads in there, it could be the other thing about brake pads. If you buy cheap brake pads, which I think these were, and the problem started when I changed the brake pads, they might squeal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push away this shield a bit. Don't want to do it too hard and might snap something. Okay, so it's bearable. Check for bearing. Might even give you a wobble if it's really bad. 260,000 should definitely give you a rumble where the bearings are going. Nope, not that side. Can you hear that? Listen out, and I'll rotate this. That's not a squeal, is it though? Well, I'm doing like 10-15 miles an hour. That's not a squeal. I'll be able to hear. So let's check the other side. So the left side now. Let's listen up. There's this scrape note there. It's the left side. Let me check the bearings first. Kind of horrible wobble. Something is squeaking like mad on this side. And again, the brakes, there's a good 1 centimetre on the brake pads. Here. Is it warped? I'm looking at the disc to see if it's warped. I'll take this wheel off in a minute. Oh, hear that? Hear that? Something is squeaking. Right. Okay, let me take the wheel off. So for safety reasons, put your car on the jack, and don't forget to take the jack away before you release before you drive off. Because it's quite easy. I've done it before. I've just left the jack there, lowered this jack, thought it was on the ground, everything was on the ground, driven off and crushed that jack there. So sometimes you can put the wheel underneath the car. You can do that. So usually put the rim, stand the rim upright, and the tyre downwards, so you don't scrape any of the alloys. But on my wheel, I guess it don't really matter that much. People just leave it under the car for safety. So something's going to screech in there. It's not doing it. When the wheel was on, it was screeching. There's no. I'm looking inside to see if there's any like wheel weights. They have scrape marks on them. There isn't any. So there's no wheel balancing weights with scrape marks. So it's not that. Something on this side. Doing it. Could have been the stone. Could have been a trap stone. Nothing there is touching at all. Look. Rotor's not warped. Rotor is actually quite new. So any of brake pad. Rotor's not worn. It's making it squeak. Let's put the wheel back on and try it again. Right, I've just got a couple of bolts on really loosely. Look. Obviously, the squeak is not there. Tighten the bolts. With the weight of the car on the being the same effect. Had the wheel off and it was squealing, wasn't it? Weight of the car doesn't matter. Let's put all the white bolts back on, but fairly tight. So once you've thoroughly checked that you've retrieved your locking wheel nut, you've retrieved the ramp and the jack, and some test it. So I want to get the car running, then we'll listen out for any, because it was a very loud squeal before. I don't know what I've done, if I've done anything. Just taking the wheel off. It could have been the wheel was slightly not as tight as it should have been. The nuts, it could be that, I'm not sure. A stone probably most likely between the Honda start. That's it. 100% sure start, and there's my 261,000 now. Okay. So I'm just doing it very slowly. My guess is it's still going to squeal. Usually that's the case. But let's open the window. No, it would have squealed by now. No more squeals. Definitely no squeals. That's it. Alright, job done. Could be as easy as that, taking a wheel off and then maybe a stone falling up. So, just do that for your car. If there's some squealing, investigate, because you never know. You go for an inspection, someone fails you and says, oh, your bearings are gone. Right? You go for service, let's say, oh, your bearings are gone. You hear that squeal, they'll rotate your wheels a few times. You think, yep, that's the bearing, well, that's the problem. They say, oh, we've changed this, we've changed that, but it may not have changed anything. Taking the wheel off, put it back on, found nothing wrong with it, put it back on, with squealing is gone, and then charge you a whole load. You never know. Most people, most mechanics won't do that. You might get one or two that may do, a minority. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hit that like, subscribe button, leave a comment if you had any kind of squealing and what you did about it in your wheels.